Great. So again, welcome to tonight's call, everyone, to our webinar for this evening, which is our Part 3 session of Creating a Quality Club. As I said, I'm Cassandra, Diva of Dialogue Lee. I am your facilitator for tonight. This webinar is the third part of the concept of creating a quality club environment to help all of our club officers, all of our club members to actually consider your club environment, what's happening in your club environment, and how you can make the club environment stronger for the benefit of your members. Now, in part 1 of this webinar series, we actually took a look at what makes up club quality. In part 2, which was last week, we actually talked more about the role of the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club Program and how those add to the actual club quality environment. For tonight's session, we're going to focus primarily on the club officers. Club officers help with making sure your club environment has a quality club environment. And tonight you'll find out how so and in what ways you can work together to ensure the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club Program are helping you and your team to provide that quality club environment for your members. To make certain that I go through some housekeeping, we've already put everyone on lecture mode. So as I said, that will decrease the background noise. I've also started the recording for this session, so that makes certain that for future reference, you can have this information. I want to make sure that I remind you, if you have any questions, that you retain those questions, write those questions down. There is a chat feature that I will be able to see when I go over to the chat feature to see if you have any questions that have come along. Yet during the session, there is a Q&A portion. That is really where I'll be focused on the actual Q&A. So even if you type something in the chat box and I don't respond right away, just know that when we get to the Q&A segment, I'll make sure that I take a look there. And if you did put a question there, I'll answer that question along the way. I will be asking you to let me know who you are, what club you're from, and to ask your question. If you have a multi-part question, I say ask the most important part of that question first, and then if we have time, let's add the other parts of your question in. Again, because we simply won't know how many people will have questions, and I want to be sure that I can get to as many questions as possible. So those are the housekeeping notes for tonight. I always like to give a shout out to our District 103 trio, because without their support, this webinar series would not take place. Many of you know that I am the first district director for District 103 Toastmasters. Yet before I was district director, I was in the role of program quality director, where I had to focus on program quality, quality clubs, leading teams, getting club officers trained. And I had this idea for this webinar series where I could assist with teaching more information that I don't get a chance to teach because I'm no longer in the program quality role. And I pitched the idea to these three gentlemen: Greg Thompson, our club quality, or our club growth director, I should say, and then Joe McCarty, who's the program quality director this year, as well as Ivory Gwen, our district director. These three gentlemen gave me the thumbs up, gave me their permission to move forward to help our club leaders and our district leaders to know more information that can help with building our clubs and maintaining our clubs at a strong level. So I give them a thanks for their support, and I always like to make certain that I give them a shout out in this session. Speaking of giving a shout out, I guess I have to give a little bit of a shout out for myself. And that's just simply so that way you'll know the idea behind this webinar series and a little bit more about me. Some of you don't know that I've been around for 20 years. 22 years to be exact. So January of this year made the 22nd year that I've been a member of Toastmasters, and I have been an officer ever since. So when I joined in January 1998, I was only a member for about 6 months. I've been a club officer ever since. Whether I was in a district leader role or not, I was a club officer. I primarily started at my corporate club and got my feet wet being a club officer, and then with the community club that I'm with now, I keep my leadership development going by being in the club officer role. Tonight, when we're talking about the club officer role, you'll find that I'll share some examples with you from my experience. Yet no, I've been there like you. I've been in all of the roles. So if you do have any questions about any of of the roles you are performing, and you can ask those questions tonight. I'll be able to give you some additional insight and advice that can help you. I mentioned that I was in district leadership. I say actually district leadership has been a journey for me. I started as an area governor. I eventually became a division governor, and I did that role twice. When I decided I was going to become the district director for District 103, I went back into the leadership role at the district level where I got a chance to serve a second time as a division governor. Then I moved into the club retention chair role, from there program quality director role, and eventually the district director role, and now in a senior advisor role, which is simply that I'm the past district director. All of these district roles have given me another perspective on the club level information as well. So tonight you may hear me make a reference to some of the roles at the club level and how they can parlay into the district level. If you don't hear me mention that tonight, you will definitely hear me mention that when we're in our March 3rd session, where we talk more about stepping into district leadership. So there is a correlation between serving your club and being in the district in leadership roles, and tonight you'll learn more about the club level, and in another 2 weeks we'll talk a little bit more about the district level. I mentioned that I was program quality director. I did receive an honor from Toastmasters International for that role. Yay! I received what's known as the Excellence in Program Quality Award, which is I say it's a feat because there was so much I had to pay attention to, yet I was looking at everything at the club level to help not only build our clubs and help maintain our clubs, yet to also assist our areas, our divisions, and our district as well. So tonight when I'm talking about the club officers really help with many of the areas that I had to focus on as a program quality director. And you'll learn those areas tonight because they're all tied, again, to the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club program. I have been in Toastmasters for 22 years, yet I started with my corporate club. I've maintained my membership for the last 15 years with my community club. I belong to the Wrightwood Ashburn Overcomers Whale Toastmasters Club, and that's where I've been providing my service for the last 15 years consecutively. My mission and my passion, I say, they are me. My mission is education and empowerment. My passion is teaching through speaking, and through every position I had in corporate America, and even in my involvement in Toastmasters, I get an opportunity to be me. Educate and empower, that's what I'm always looking to do, and that's why I'm doing this particular series. And to be able to teach through speaking, I'm getting an opportunity to continuously improve on my speaking skills, and this time using technology with this webinar series. The Leadership Legacy Series is another way in which I'm enhancing my skills, my leadership knowledge, my ability to teach, and not necessarily through speaking this time, but teach through writing. So the Leadership Legacy Series is a series of reports that I've put together that are targeting club leaders as well as district leaders on a variety of topics. There were a few that were available for tonight's session. If you find that you're interested in knowing more about voting in members or how your club is ranking, those are some of the reports that I've put together that you can use. Feel free to download those from my website at dblockdialogue.com/Toastmasters, and you can access those reports at any time. Speaking of speaking, that is what I do for a living. I said that my passion is teaching through speaking. So I've built my career, when I left corporate America, I built my career around teaching. Clients hire me to come out and teach professional development classes. And right now, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. Actually, I'm in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'll be in Madison on tomorrow evening. But tonight, I'm in Green Bay because tomorrow all day, I'll be teaching a program for women on professional development. I have been using my skills from Toastmasters to help with my career as a professional speaker and corporate trainer. And that is why the next goal for me is to actually move towards the certification that Toastmasters International provides to a select few called the Accredited Speaker Program. Now, it requires that I'll get someone hire me, and I must speak to non-Toastmaster audiences, and I must collect recommendations. And this has been a process that I've been working on for a few years now because the recommendation process takes a little bit of time. However, this is my next goal. This is why I'm still in Toastmasters. And actually, I shouldn't say this is why I'm still in Toastmasters. I'm still in Toastmasters 22 years later because it provides me with growth and development. I joined Toastmasters for leadership development. I stay with Toastmasters for leadership development. Yet since I'm here, I can't just sit around and do nothing. So I'm always looking for that next goal. I have done the leadership roles at the district level. I have settled into the career of teaching through speaking as a professional trainer and speaker. Now, with Toastmasters, I want to make certain that I can use what I've built my career to do and to get that next certification, and that is the Accredited Speaker Award. So look out sometime in the near future where you will hear me say, finally, I got it, or you'll see the AS behind my DTM and PDD. You'll see the AS, and the AS will stand for Accredited Speaker. Now that you know a little more about me and why this seminar is happening and what my journey has been, let's look at tonight's content. As I said, tonight's content is part 3, and this is an area that really could probably be broken down into 10 additional sessions because it is so vast. As I said, part 1 focused primarily on the moments of truth, or I should say focused on the elements that make up club quality, such as experiential learning. Part 2 focused on the Distinguished Club Program and the Moments of Truth. Now tonight, we're going to focus on the club officers. As we go through this segment, if you are a club officer, I want you to be thinking about how this information relates to you and how you and your team of club officers can work well together. There's a saying at Toastmasters that goes, as a club officer, you will need to work closely with your club executive committee to accomplish club goals. They want us to recognize that whenever each of us take on a role as a club officer, and ideally there will be 7 different people, all 7 of us are working together in order to help us reach the goals of the club. Now, the club's goals typically are tied to the Distinguished Club Program, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yet for now, recognize that you're not doing this alone. You're not by yourself. You and your fellow club officers, who are known as the executive committee, you get an opportunity to work together to achieve your club's goals. For tonight, I want to make certain that we do a review of the duties and responsibilities of all 7 of the club officer roles. Some of you may be new, and you may be hearing this information for the first time about the club officers, and you might not really know what the duties and responsibilities are. So I want to make certain that I don't miss that detail, so we'll review that information. You will also learn the transferable skills that are acquired by working in those roles. I should say by serving in those roles. Sometimes we forget. We may serve in a club officer role simply to help out our club. However, our club is helping us to gain skills that we can take from the club environment and use in other instances. So we'll learn about those transferable skills with each and every one of those 7 club officer roles. We'll also look at the elements of the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club Program. So the MOT, Moments of Truth, and the DCP, the Distinguished Club Program. We will look at those and get an idea as to which standards and which elements the Moments of Truth and the DCP are influenced by each of the club officers. Club officers are important to managing a successful club, and they are actually influential with the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club Program, and you'll find out how tonight. We will also take a look at very specific duties of the executive committee. Surprisingly, Toastmasters International lets you know there are only about 4 main duties of the entire executive board. You'll learn what those are, and you'll get an opportunity to recognize if you are actually using those or following those duties and responsibilities of your executive committee. And then last but not least, I want to make sure I recommend for you some different resources that you can use for your role currently and also for the future. I say for the future simply because we are now in election season, or at least we should be. Our clubs are getting ready to start transitioning. We're about to move into the month of March, where your club should be looking for new club officers for the next year. So you should be forming a nominating committee in March. In April, your club should know those members who are the slates or the interested members who want to serve as the officers. In May, you elect the new officers, and no later than June 1st, Toastmasters International receives your list of new officers for the 2020-2021 club officer year. It's a process, and some of these dates and information can be overlooked. I want to make certain that the resources that can help you with finding your successors and getting your new officer team in place for next club year can be done as early as possible, and your information can be sent to Toastmasters International, where then the district can actually receive that information and can help to start training your new club officers. In a nutshell, that's what we're going to review for this session. As I said, it is primarily about the 7 club officer roles. So 7 club officer roles. We know we have the president, the vice president of education, or the VPE, the vice president of membership, or the VPM, the vice president of public relations, or the VPPR. We also have the secretary, the treasurer, and the sergeant at arms. I have listed each of them in their ranking order. The order in which I spoke them, the order in which they're listed, is the order in which Toastmasters International places the rank. The president is the highest ranking officer of your club. Your sergeant at arms is your 7th ranking officer of your club. So when we are going through the information about the club officers, I will keep it in this order from the highest ranking to the 7th ranking officer. Even though the ranks might get a little lower, know that each one of those officer roles are important because they play an important part in helping to build a quality club. Yeah, let's start with the president, because the president is the one that's really being charged with making sure your club can have a quality club environment. Now, the president is known to be the one that sets the tone for the club meeting, provides helpful, supportive leadership for your club, not only the club leaders, but the club members as well. Your president should be able to facilitate communication, know membership levels and progress, as well as serve as a base camp manager and pathways. Now, these are only a few of the duties of the president, yet recognize that the very first responsibility that Toastmasters International says the president has is to set the tone for the club. Unfortunately, there are clubs where the president sets the wrong tone, and that tone can prevent guests from becoming members and members from remaining members. So keep in mind, the very first responsibility is setting the right tone, and then you add in all of these other duties, including serving as a base camp manager. I like the fact that Toastmasters International realized that Pathways, being the new educational program, should not be managed by one club officer alone. Yeah, we know the vice president of education is usually the one that's charged with managing the educational program. And in a moment, you'll notice that the VPE also has base camp manager duties as well. However, recognize that the VPE is not alone. If you're currently serving as president, you also have base camp manager duties. And if you're not really sure what base camp manager duties are, don't worry. Log into your base camp, look at the Basecamp tutorial, and you'll learn more information. And of course, you can always attend those sessions that District 103 sponsors with Sandra Washington, our Pathways guru. She's been doing a multitude of Pathways programs, and many of them have been on Basecamp management, so you're more than welcome to take those sessions as well. Yeah, let's continue on, because I said these are not the only duties of the president. There are two more duties that the president must uphold, and that's to ensure that the executive officers are functioning well and the club focuses on the Distinguished Club Program, and finally that the president helps to guide the executive committee and the club towards goals. So keep in mind, I like to say the president is the visionary of the club, and that's because the club success plan and the Distinguished Club Program are the goals and the plan, the vision plan that helps you to know exactly the direction in which your club is heading. President, you want to have an idea of what your club is doing, what your progress has been in the past, and where you want to go in the future. We know that Toastmasters clubs exist in order to help men and women become better communicators and leaders. Is your club environment helping your members to become better communicators and leaders? Presidents, you want to have an awareness of that, and that's why many of the duties that were listed for you will help you to be in tune with those responsibilities. Speaking of being in tune, Toastmasters International is in tune with the fact that the president is learning a lot of skills that they can use outside of the Toastmasters environment, which means whenever you serve in the role of president, you are learning a variety of skills that can be helpful on your job, in your career, with your community, or even at your church. Depends upon where else you're exhibiting and using your leadership skills. For instance, with the presidents, you're learning transferable skills where you're leading teams, you're able to meet goals, you're motivating and coaching others. Yet most importantly, you're gaining experience in leadership. Toastmasters is the organization of where leaders are made. So once you serve in the officer role, and especially in the role of president, you're gaining those transferable skills of leadership, yet transferable skills that you can use in other environments as well. So those are some of the skills the president takes away from the role. Now let's take a look at the vice president of education. Before I look at the Vice President of Education, let's take a look at the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club Program and which elements that the President influences. And quite frankly, the President helps to influence all of the areas of the Moments of Truth. There are 6 areas of the Moments of Truth where there are a total of 36 standards. Yet the 6 areas of first impressions, membership orientation, fellowship, variety, and communication, program planning and meeting organization, along with membership strength and achievement recognition, the president is influencing all of those areas. Even if it's only at a minimum of being aware of what's happening, the president has to be all-knowing with the Moments of Truth areas. And that goes for the Distinguished Club Program as well. We know with the Distinguished Club Program there are 10 goals your club can achieve every year. Yet know those 10 goals fall in 4 categories. The categories of education is the highest category that the goals fall in. We actually want to earn 6 goals in education. Membership, we have 2 goals to earn. Training, we have 1 goal to earn. And then when it comes to administration, there's a 1 goal, but it's a 2-parter there. And I should say training is actually a 2-parter as well. 1 goal, but 2 parts. Most of what happens with the Distinguished Club Program, the president has to be aware of. The Distinguished Club Program president, you're being asked to submit to your area director your club success plan. The club success plan includes the goals your club will achieve from the Distinguished Club Program. And if you're not familiar with which members will earn educational awards, if your officers have been trained twice in a club year, if your reports have been submitted on time, or even if your dues have been submitted on time, as a president, you're really not on top of it. So take into account, the president has to be on top of all 4 areas of the Distinguished Club Program, as well as all 6 areas of the Moments of Truth. The president influences all of these elements. Now, when we talk about influence, let's look at the next role, because our next club officer role really influences the growth and development of our members, and that's the Vice President of Education, otherwise known as the VPE. The VPE encourages members to complete their communication and leadership goals. The VPE schedules members their speeches and their projects. The VPE serves as the base camp manager. Now, just pausing on those duties for the moment, take into account that first duty of the VPE. That one is really the most critical duty. Encourages members to complete their communication and leadership goals. Remember I said that Toastmasters International has clubs, so clubs can assist our members with becoming better communicators and leaders. Well, part of how we become better communicators and leaders is to actually use the educational program. We're phasing out of the traditional program where we had the manuals. Now we're in the Pathways program, and that's going to be the primary program we will use from now on, starting July 1st, 2020. Well, the Vice President of Education is all over the educational program. They are the ones that's tracking the progress of which members are still in the traditional program, if you have members in the traditional program. Yet they are also paying attention to which of their members are in Pathways, what's their progress, how they're doing, what more they need to have, and let's make sure we can build the meetings to allow members to give their speeches and to meet their leadership projects in order to meet those educational goals. The VPE is encouraging. Although some of you might think your VPE is pushing, and that could be going on as well, because we know in some club environments, and it depends upon who our members are, some members are not moving without being pushed. Yet a lot of our members move when they get encouragement, and that's what our VPE does. Our VPE also does a few more things. Toastmasters International says that the VPE serves as a resource for questions about the education awards, the speech contest, and mentors. And the VPE is a source for Toastmasters knowledge and the education program. Now, I chuckle because I think about all of the district roles I've been in and how much of a resource I had to be and how much knowledge I needed to know. And I tell you, sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. So with your VPE, recognize that your VPE is a work in progress. They are going to be learning information in order to be a better source for you for the questions that you have. Sometimes in your club environment, you've never experienced a certain situation, which means that VPE may not have an answer like that. They may need to do some research. Give them the ability to do that research. They can research right there on www.toastmasters.org. There's a frequently asked questions page dedicated primarily to the Vice President of Education, yet any of the educational information, they can find their questions there on the website. If they don't find it, they can always call and ask someone at Toastmasters International headquarters. By speaking to a live person, they can get their answers as well. They can also reach out at the district level and talk to the program quality director, which this year is Joe McCarty. And of course, if you had any questions, you can always reach out to me as well. Variety of people and resources that you have access to for the VPE to have questions answered. Now, although right now you'll notice that Toastmasters International is saying the VPE is a resource for questions, and the VPE is a source about Toastmasters information. The other club officers are as well. However, this is primarily pertaining to the education program. So if you are a VPE on this call tonight on this session with us for this evening, take into account if you're not sure of what's going on with pathways, begin to do some self-study, because there are a lot of resources that already exist and many tutorials that are already out there on Basecamp, on Toastmasters.org that you can actually access to learn the information that you need to know. So don't ever think that you can't find the answer if you don't readily know the answer. Just give yourself permission to research it so you can have the information, and I ask that all other club members and club leaders be patient with them as they learn that information. Because if they must be a source and if they must be a resource, let them learn the information so they can truly be that source. And speaking of learning, the Vice President of Education learns a variety of skills that they can transfer from the club environment into other situations. The motivating others skill is a skill that not only does the president learn, but so does the VPE. Setting and achieving goals. Oh, that is huge with the Vice President of Education, primarily because the Vice President of Education is the one that's going to really monitor that Distinguished Club program. So with setting and achieving goals, that is a given for the Vice President of Education. Yet another transferable skill that Toastmasters recognizes a Vice President of Education will gain is organization and leadership. Again, this is the organization where we are learning to become leaders. This is where leaders are made. So with the Vice President of Education, yes, organization is key. I will also add in time management, because there's a lot going on with being able to manage and monitor the progress of your members and still get your work done too. Yet you do have the ability, Vice Presidents of Education, to gain organization skills and to develop your leadership skills simply by serving as the VPE. And I take my hat off to those of you who have been the VPE several times. You truly are working in that skill set, and you're using that skill set, I'm sure, outside of your Toastmasters environment. Now, within the Toastmasters environment, the Vice President of Education, just like the President, is influencing all 6 areas of the Moments of Truth and all 4 areas of the Distinguished Club program. That means most of what is going on with the Moments of Truth standards and the 10 goals of the Distinguished Club program, most of those fall under the Vice President of Education, which means the Vice President of Education should be well-versed on all of those program elements for Moments of Truth as well as the Distinguished Club program. That way they can help to monitor those areas to improve the quality of their clubs. Now, when I think about the Vice President of Education, I thought also about the Vice President of Membership. In a moment, we will see which elements they influence of the Distinguished Club program and the Moments of Truth. However, for now, let's take a look at the VPM specific duties and responsibilities. We know that the Vice President of Membership is the officer that helps to promote the club and manages the process of bringing in guests and transforming those guests into members. We also know that the Vice President of Membership, there we go, the VPM also initiates contact with guests. They make the guests feel welcome, and they provide information to the guests to help the guests make a decision to join your club. You'll also find that the VPM is recommended to work with the Vice President of Public Relations as well as the club treasurer. Well, that's to be expected. The Vice President of Public Relations helps to promote the club to the outside world, and many of your guests should be recognized in PR information, and that's the reason why the VPM will work with the VPPR. Yet the Vice President of Membership is working with the club treasurer because they're turning guests into members, which means guests are going to be paying membership fees, and the club president, or I should say the club treasurer, and the Vice President of Membership can work hand in hand with ensuring those club dues get processed. Now, my brain is running fast because I'm thinking it depends upon your club. It depends upon your club environment. Some club environments, they follow this partnership to a T, meaning the VPM, VPPR, and the club treasurer works well together to do exactly what's recommended. Yet in some club environments, that's not the case. It might be the VPM is working closely with the secretary, or the VPM only works closely with the treasurer. So it really depends upon your club environment and how your club officer roles are actually filled amongst your members. Yet know from the recommendation that it's recommended the vice president of membership and the vice president of public relations and the club treasurer all work together, especially when you're bringing in guests and turning them into members. Now, when we talk about the transferable skills of the vice president of membership, recognize sales skills is a skill that a vice president of membership learns that they can use in another environment. Improved communication skills is a transferable skill a VPM learns. In addition to confidence to meet new people. I would call that networking. And I think all officers gain networking skills as well, yet notice that it's being highlighted for the vice president of membership in particular, that the vice president of membership will gain confidence with being able to meet new people. Those are only a few, just a few of the transferable skills. I'm sure if we were to brainstorm other skills, we would come up with many more for the previous roles, just like we could with the vice president of membership. Yet for now, know that Toastmasters International says sales skills, improved communication skills, and the ability to connect with new people, those are the primary transferable skills that a vice president of membership will gain. The vice president of membership not only gains those skills, yet the vice president of membership influences the club environment and club quality because they influence all 6 areas of the moments of truth, and they influence the 4 areas of the Distinguished Club program. Now, the moments of truth, if you look at the 36 criteria that's broken down, and when you get a chance, listen to part 2 of creating a club, quality club, because in part 2, that's when you learn all 36 of those elements. And of course, you can always download Moments of Truth from the Toastmasters website, and that way you have a hard copy of the information as well. Yet when you take a look at the 36 elements, you're going to be surprised that most of those elements really tie more to the Vice President of Education and the Vice President of Membership, where all the other 5 officers, if you will, do help to influence. Yet the bulk of those criteria are more connected to the VPE and the Vice President of Membership. Yet the Vice President of Membership still influences the 4 areas, or I should say the 10 goals of the Distinguished Club program. Definitely membership is tied to their responsibility. However, they have a responsibility to earn goals and to attend training and to make certain that club dues are paid on time as well, which means they are also influencing all 4 areas of the Distinguished Club program. So the Vice President of Membership, just like the Vice President of Education and the club president, they all influence the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club program. Let's take a look now at our 4th ranking officer. We've talked about the top 3 officers of the club. Let's now look at our 4th ranking officer of the club, which is our Vice President of Education. Or no, our Vice President of Public Relations. Hey, I just said that to make sure you were paying attention. Our Vice President of Public Relations. Now, this is our officer role that gets the opportunity to promote our clubs to the community through activities that increase membership. Our VPPR also gets a chance to publish meeting times and locations. Our VPPR also gets the opportunity to write a newsletter and even maintain social media sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Meetup, or whatever other social media page works for your club. Keep in mind, the VPPR is helping the world to know about your club and its members, the good your club is doing, the great accomplishments your club members are having, the new members that are becoming a part of your clubs. Those are exciting pieces of information to share with the world at large. Now, when I say share with the world at large, you can determine what your world is. Social media is listed. So the social media world is much larger than if you were writing a press release. Because if you were writing a press release or submitting a press release, you may end up submitting that press release to the community in which your club is a part of, or to the newsletter that is the main hub for your club. So let me backtrack for a moment, because when I say community, I think about the fact that we have clubs and communities such as Oak Park, Oak Lawn, South Holland, Hyde Park, Wicker Park. We have clubs around the city of Chicago. District 103 Toastmasters is primarily made up of the entire downtown area and the south side of Chicago. That's how our club, or I should say our district, those are our boundaries. So we have downtown and we have the south side. Think about the communities within that broad range right there. We have the West Loop and the South Loop, and it depends upon your VPPR and the type of information they acquire. They will learn about places in which to promote your club. Sometimes, yes, it is all about social media. Other times it's not. It may be through a press release. It might be through a community calendar. Your VPPR should find a way to make certain that they are regularly getting the word out that your club exists and your club is doing well. So promote those speech contest winners. Promote new members. When members get a raise or promotion on their job, talk about that from the standpoint of the skills they use from Toastmasters that help them to get those jobs. And again, you can promote that on social media, in your newsletter, and in other ways with your VPPR plan. Yes, don't forget the VPPR has an opportunity to use transferable skills too. And they learn marketing. They get the opportunity to gain proficiency in using social media sites and websites. They, too, learn sales skills, and they are also able to increase their confidence to meet the public. And when they're meeting the public, their public is not only the members and potential guests. VPPR has the public of reporters and news media. So they are learning to communicate with a variety of audiences, and these are some of the transferable skills that a VPPR can gain when they serve in this role. Serving in the role of VPPR does mean that you will influence all elements of the Moments of Truth as well as all the goal areas of the Distinguished Club program. Now keep in mind, as I said before, even if it's at a minimum, you earning an educational award as a VPPR, you're helping with the Distinguished Club program. Even if it's you helping to greet a guest when they walk in the door, VPPR, you're still helping with the elements of the Moments of Truth. So again, just like the president and the VPE and the VPN, the VPPR also influences all 6 areas of the Moments of Truth and all 4 areas of the Distinguished Club program. We've looked at the top 4 officer roles. Let's look now at our 5th officer role for a club, and that's the club secretary. The club secretary is the one that's maintaining the records, the files, the correspondence, information that can help with keeping the history of your club. They're responsible for taking meeting minutes. So meeting minutes for your club, as well as meeting minutes for your executive committee meetings as well. Ooh, and by the way, secretaries, Toastmasters International just started doing something that they were doing when I joined 22 years ago, and that is they now have a template that you can use for creating your meeting minutes. Whether it's a club meeting or whether it's an executive committee meeting, you can now download the new templates and create your meeting minutes from those templates. Yet remember that it's your responsibility, club secretary, secretaries to make certain that your meetings are being recorded for a historical purpose, and you can use the templates or your very own template, yet you're keeping track of those meeting minutes. Now, I've mentioned a few times about the historical perspective. The secretary helps to keep track of those details that could be later helpful for the Vice President of Education when they need to submit an award for a member who can't remember when they did a speech. That has happened several times. I've been a VPE several times, and thank goodness we had meeting minutes or some semblance of notes that someone kept, and we were able to go back through at least a year's worth or 2 years worth of information to help members figure out, okay, these are the actual days when you did certain speeches, and these were the manuals in which you gave those speeches, and now you know exactly what you have left to complete. So think about the archival information that the secretaries are helping to keep. It's historical, and you just never know how those meeting minutes can come in handy. Speaking of how the meeting minutes come in handy, secretaries, you're recording all the members who attend your meetings, and you're also recording your guests who attend. Now, this information is helpful for the VPE. It's also helpful for the Vice President of Membership, because if you are making sure you stay connected to the guests that come to your meetings, now that you have recorded their information, secretaries, and you have their name, you have an email address or a phone number, your Vice President of Membership can stay in connection with those guests and can invite those guests to become members of the club. So again, the secretary role, don't take it lightly. You really do have a lot of responsibilities that are extremely helpful to creating a quality club environment. And the last few roles that International says the secretary has is to make certain that you distribute the club roster of current paid memberships, that you maintain a current club officer list, and that you too serve as a base camp manager. Now, a few of those roles, like the distributing the roster of paid members, in your club, that might be the Vice President of Membership, and that's completely okay. Or in your club, it could be the club treasurer that does that duty. That's okay too. When we talk about maintaining a current club officer list, yes, secretary, you would want to do that. The president might also do that as well. Who knows? Depends upon the nature of your club. Yet in your club, you do want to have the ability to work on base camp as well, because, as I said before, base camp duties, we don't want only the Vice President of Membership or the Vice President of Education, rather, to handle that. So that's why Toastmasters has said the President and the Secretary, along with the Vice President of Education, they all have base camp duties or base camp manager duties. And again, you can read up on that. You can look at those tutorials. You could attend the Sandra Washington sessions. You can learn more about being base camp manager if you don't know how, through all the various resources that exist for base camp managers and pathways. So we will talk about that when we get into the resource segment. Yet no, secretaries, these are your duties, and you get skills that you're using. You can use these skills in Toastmasters, use these skills outside of Toastmasters, and the idea is you're improving your communication. You're improving your listening skills. Now, when they say you're improving your communication and listening skills, I would add another component to that. Not only are you improving your listening skills and your communication skills, you're also improving your writing skills too. So although they don't specify it with improve your writing skills, in improved communication, do think about it from the verbal standpoint as well as from the written standpoint. Speaking of improving, you're going to improve your proficiency in using software. Depends upon how you keep track of your meeting minutes, depends upon the level of record keeping you do. You're going to be using technology in ways that you might never have been using before in order to make certain that you can have the historical records for your clubs. Accurate record keeping is important, and you'll learn that. Time management and organization are also important skills to learn. And, of course, International says as a secretary, you're walking away with those skills. So, again, you use those skills inside of Toastmasters, and you can use those skills outside of Toastmasters as well. Our secretary, just like our other officers, will influence the moments of truth and the Distinguished Club program. Yep, all 6 areas of Moments of Truth and all 4 areas of the Distinguished Club program. So the 5th ranking officer, secretary, influences Moments of Truth and Distinguished Club program just like our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ranking officers. So far, all 5 officer roles are influencing the Moments of Truth and the Distinguished Club program. Now, as we round out with our final 2 club officer roles, I want to take a look at our 6th ranking club officer role, and that's our club treasurer. The club treasurer is seen as the accountant for the club. The club treasurer is keeping the financial records of the club. Accurate financial records, of course, is extremely helpful. Members always want to make certain that the dues they pay to the club is being used properly. And that is if your club has club dues. Some clubs don't. You simply pay the $45 directly to Toastmasters International, and you don't have to worry about keeping a bank account or having a bank account where you have club dues. Yet some of our clubs do have club dues in addition to the Toastmasters International dues, and that's where managing the club's bank account is important. So if you do collect your own club dues, make certain that your club treasurer is maintaining accurate records and managing the club's bank account. Writing checks or making deposits or paying online, as long as it's approved by the executive committee, that's the responsibility of your club treasurer. The club treasurer also makes certain that they help to collect and pay the dues to world headquarters. So that means to Toastmasters International before April 1st and before October 1st, club dues must be paid. Notice I'm saying before April 1st and before October 1st, which means your club wants to work really hard to collect whatever dues are needed, get it sent into world headquarters, let them process it so that way it's processed in time for April 1st and October 1st. Right now, we're in the middle of February. We have already started collecting club dues for April 1st. As a matter of fact, Toastmasters International about a week or 2 weeks ago opened it up where your clubs can now start paying dues online so that way your clubs can start getting your membership payments in. Do not miss the deadline because we no longer have a grace period. If your club is not paid up by April 1st, your club will be considered suspended. And that's a responsibility that your club treasurer does not want to have on their hands where the club becomes suspended. So do know your club treasurer will work really hard to get those club dues collected so that they can get paid. And if your club works with the club budget, the executive committee, the club treasurer will work with the executive committee rather to make certain that a club budget is prepared. Yet the dues collection is the primary duty that I hear most club treasurers are performing no matter what their club situation is. Club treasurers are making certain that members can remain active members of clubs. Ooh, and speaking of active, yeah, because we're in speech contest season. Any club that has not paid club dues will no longer be considered a club in good standing, which means their members will not be considered members in good standing. And if you end up having a member competing in the division speech contest in March or in the district speech contest in April, you will jeopardize your members' competition status. So you don't want to jeopardize your members' competition status by not getting your club dues paid on time. Like I said, we're in February. Start collecting dues and pay them now. You have until close to the end of March. Make certain that your club dues get paid and they're in by the April 1st deadline. And club treasurers, you are the one that's spearheading that. Thanks to you being the club treasurer, though, you will gain skills. You're going to gain transferable skills such as receiving and managing money, budgeting skills and keeping accurate records along with dispersing funds. Ooh, a lot of big terms that if you're working in fundraising or if you're managing budgets at work, these skills at the club level can definitely work to your benefit for any of the charity events you work on or any of the duties and responsibilities you have at your job where you must use your financial skills. And speaking of using financial skills, treasurer, you are the one that's in tune with the finances of the club. Yet keep in mind you are also influencing all 6 of the moments of truth areas and all 4 of the areas of the Distinguished Club program. So you treasurers, just like the previous 5 officer roles, you too are influencing all aspects of the club quality by being in tune with the Distinguished Club program as well as Moments of Truth. Now we have one more club officer role, and that's our 7th club officer role. As I said, our 7th ranking club officer role is the Sergeant at Arms. The Sergeant at Arms is responsible for the club's physical property, is responsible for arriving early to be able to set up the meeting room location. This officer role, according to International, helps to make certain that you remove club property after the meeting. You're also the individual that's helping to set a good first impression, and you also help to set the tone for the entire meeting. So that means with parliamentary procedures, with being able to keep order, with being able to help follow protocol, Sergeant at Arms helps to set the tone of the meeting. Now, it's interesting, the president helps to set the tone of the club. The Sergeant at Arms helps to set the tone of the meeting. And they are the ones that are also going to be connected to making guests feel welcomed and making certain members feel comfortable in the meeting space. Sergeant at Arms role, sometimes people think is a very light role. However, it is a very important role. It's so important that the Sergeant at Arms will gain the transferable skills of the ability to hold an effective meeting. They're going to learn about preparation and organization as well. And they, like the other 6 officer roles, they too are influencing all areas of the Moments of Truth and all areas of the Distinguished Club program. The Sergeant at Arms, like the President and the VPE and the VPM and VPPR, along with the Secretary and Treasurer, all play a major part in helping the club to have a quality club environment when they fulfill their duties, and they are also influencing Moments of Truth and Distinguished Club program. Our clubs can have a stronger level of quality. Now let's look at the duties of the Executive Committee. As I said, all 7 club officers are the Executive Committee, and they, in essence, have 4 primary duties that they're fulfilling. Toastmasters International says the #1 duty is to create a club budget. I chuckle at that, and I chuckle because I've been at club officer training as a club treasurer, and that question comes up quite often. And most clubs are like, club budget, what, why, huh, what is it? And for most clubs, they are not creating a club budget. However, here's what a club budget helps you to be able to understand. Where are we bringing in funds? If we have expenses, how will those expenses be paid? Now, we know clubs collect dues, membership dues. That's the primary way that clubs are creating or generating funds, if you will. And the funds are not to be able to throw a big party. It's to make certain that we can manage the clubs in a successful way. So your Executive Committee, the President, VPE, VPM, VPPR, Secretary, Treasurer, and Sergeant at Arms, you will get together in the beginning of the club year to look at creating a club budget. Again, being able to understand, I would say primarily, what type of expenses are you going to have in a club year, and that way, how many members do you need to recruit in order to make certain that those fees or those expenses can be paid for. Now, that's a real simplistic way of looking at or thinking about creating a club budget. However, in the resource I'll mention in the next segment, You're going to learn more details about creating a club budget. And I do believe they just created new templates. I do believe there may be one now for club budgets. So definitely check that out. Now, the next duty of the club executive committee is to make certain that the club success plan is completed. Now, the club success plan is a part of the Distinguished Club program. And the club success plan is actually a very detailed document that talks about the way in which your executive committee will work together. So it covers things such as your values, your teamwork, your operating principles, along with a few other areas. And then you take a look at your Distinguished Club program goals, such as which members will earn educational awards, which officers are going to attend both rounds of training, when will we submit our dues list, and when will we get our club officer list submitted. So you're looking at your entire team and how your team will function, as well as your entire club and how your members will contribute to the Distinguished Club program. And you're looking at that at the same time. It's one big document, and you'll notice the item number, I believe, is 1111, I believe. I can't see all the numbers there. But Club Success Plan, you double-click that on the Toastmasters.org website, and you'll be able to use that document to really work through your club and how it's going to operate with all of your leaders. Another duty of the executive committee is to make certain that you strategize for success in the Distinguished Club programs. I'll tell you, having been the program quality director, it was awesome to see clubs who for years were good at strategizing how they're going to earn those goals. I mean, year after year, there were certain clubs that I could look at the list and see their names on that list and know, okay, before June 30th, this club is going to have other awards earned or other goals achieved. They're going to become a distinguished club or a select distinguished club or a president's distinguished club. Yet what was also exciting was to work with clubs and get them to recognize that the work their members had been doing wasn't in vain. And if they were to focus on achieving 2 or 3 more goals, they would be able to become a distinguished club or a select distinguished club or even a president's distinguished club, simply because now you're focused in on it. Strategizing with the Distinguished Club program, that's the duty of the executive committee. The district should not have to say to your club, hey, listen, you are close to becoming distinguished. You only need 2 more goals to achieve. We will, however, your executive committee should really be in tune with that and be moving your members along to achieve whatever goals. And you achieve the goals, of course, that are realistic for your members and for your club at that time. Yet keep in mind, as an executive team, you're constantly looking at the goals to achieve for your Distinguished Club program. And remember, most of the goals to achieve, 6 of them to be exact, are all educational goals. Your members becoming better communicators and better leaders, that is how you can earn those goals. Now, the last duty of the executive committee is to make certain that you can create and oversee other club committees as necessary. Now, it depends upon the nature of your club. Your club may have a bereavement committee, although that could fall underneath your Sergeant-at-Arms and the Sergeant-at-Arms hospitality committee. It depends upon what your committees or needs are. Your club will make that determination. You can also add those committees to your club's bylaws, yet you will make that determination if there are any other club committees, that are needed. And sometimes your club committees are needed based on certain events that your club is doing. So again, your executive committee will make that determination. However, that's the last duty of your executive committee. So all 7 of you will get together and create a club budget. All 7 of you will get together and complete your club success plan. All 7 of you will regularly strategize on achieving the 10 goals of the Distinguished Club program. And all 7 of you will make determinations on any need for other committees. You'll put them in place and make certain that they can fulfill the duties that are needed. Yet those are it, according to Toastmasters International. I say these duties of the executive committee are a good foundational start. It really depends upon the nature of your club and the additional duties that your executive committee will perform. Now, as we're rounding out, before we get into our Q&A, I want to mention for you resources. Serving as a club officer can be daunting if this is new for you. Yet recognize Toastmasters International is one of the few places that I know of which has a manual for just about everything. So I know for me, being program quality director, one of my pet peeves I had to learn to overcome is to learn not to get frustrated when people would tell me they didn't know something. What do you mean you don't know? We're in Toastmasters. They got a manual for everything. Did you go and search it out? You can learn it if you need to know it because it exists. So here is the section on resources, because I don't want anyone to tell me that join me for this session, you didn't know something. It exists. You just simply need to take the time to search it out. So the first resource I recommend that you make certain you have a copy of, and that is your Club Leadership Handbook. Last year, I believe, was the year when they made the decision they were no longer going to print it, meaning Toastmasters International no longer prints it. They no longer mail it to the new club officers. The problem was, for years, they would mail a big packet, 7 club officer manuals, along with the Distinguished Club program booklet, and they would mail it to the previous year's president, and the new officers would not get that package. So they were finding, from a statistical standpoint, fewer and fewer new officers were getting those manuals in their hand, and also a lot of updates were happening, especially when they brought out pathways, and they couldn't keep that printed manual up to date as fast as they would like, keep it up to date, print it, and get it shipped out. So what they decided to do is to only have it as an electronic copy. They keep it up to date much faster, and it's downloadable. So I want you to make certain that you go out to Toastmasters.org, go to the resource library, download your very own PDF copy of the Club Leadership Handbook. All 7 club officer duties are listed. The base camp manager information is there. A timeline for what all club officers should be doing and by when is in the beginning of the booklet. And in the back of the booklet are additional resources such as doing fundraising, creating a budget, and contest information, the educational program, the DCP, other details that you as a club officer will want to be aware of. You will find it all within that one booklet. So check out and download the Club Leadership Handbook. The next resource is the Club Success Plan. Now, you may have remembered that I said the Club Success Plan helps you to determine your executive committee, how you're going to work together, how you will communicate with each other, what your teamwork will be, what your values will be. Plus, it will help you to determine your 10 goals of the Distinguished Club program. So that is still as a booklet. It is still as one unit. You will find it on the Toastmasters website in the resource library as well. It is no longer a printed copy, yet you do have access to it as a PDF resource. I say download it, add it to your collection, especially because your transition of club officers is getting ready to happen. By the time you do your club elections in May, you want your new club officers to have a copy of the Distinguished Club program and the Club Success Plan, along with their PDF version of the Club Leadership Handbook. Something else that you want your officers now and for the next club year to have is information on your club's Distinguished Club progress. The Distinguished Club program is being monitored every single day by Toastmasters International. The website of www.toastmasters.org distinguished performance reports. That gives you an opportunity to not only find out how your club is doing in the Distinguished Club Program, yet you also get an opportunity to see how your club is doing within your area, within your division, and within the district. Now, having been Program Quality Director, having been the Club Retention Chair, and also having been the District Director, this was a report that I lived by. Not just for my own individual club, I had to see the entire district, which meant no matter if your club was in the Central West Division of District 103 or the Central South Division of District 103, I needed to know what was going on with all of the clubs. You can monitor your own club's progress here at this resource, and I would encourage you to definitely go there and visit. And you know what I want you to do? When you go to this Distinguished Performance Reports link, I want you to do me a favor. Double check and see if your club is listed with the correct number of club officers that got trained this second round. Remember, we started the second round of training sometime around December 1st. It's going to end on February 29th. I don't want any clubs to miss out on earning club officer credit, so I want you to double check and see if you had 4 or more of your club officers trained. Make certain that's showing up on your Distinguished Club Program Progress Report. So that's a resource that I want you to tap into. The final resource I want you to use is one of my reports, my Leadership Legacy Report. This report is specifically on finding your successor. Looking for leaders in the future is something that we do on a regular basis at the district level. Looking for leaders for the future at the club level, though, sometimes that's not done enough. So as I mentioned earlier, March, your club really should be looking at creating a nominating committee. So your president from last year should be the chair, have 2 additional members on that committee. Reach out to all the members of your club that are planning to remain members of your club for this next dual cycle. See who wants to serve in any of the 7 club officer roles. In April, get that list together, or the slate as it's known to be. Get the slate together, introduce that to your members, let them know exactly when the election will be. If any of the roles are contested, you know the election will have a campaign speech from each person. If the role, though, it only has 1 person running for it, then you know your club can do unanimous vote or however your club decides to do it, by ballot or whatever. The idea is March, start talking to your members with your nominating committee, seeking them out. April, start informing your members who the potential candidates are for being your club officers for next year. And then in May, elect those club officers, and before the Memorial Day holiday, get into Toastmasters International electronically your new club officers for the 2020-2021 club year. And then that way, in June, when District 103 is doing the TLI, and actually we're going to start promoting the TLI for the district in May. So the sooner you can get, or as soon as you can get your officer list in, the better, because what's going to happen when we start promoting the District 103 Summer Toastmasters Leadership Institute, that information is going to the officers we have on file, which may be you, and you may be in an old role. So we want the new officers for the new club year, make certain that you get their information in. And this report, my Leadership Legacy Report on Build for the Future, Succession Planning, Transition Files, and Sample Forms, is one of the resources that can help you to start building for the future. Now, that was a lot of information that was covered in this segment. And what I would like to do, and this is perfect timing, I am going to give us an opportunity to have Q&A. So I am going to make certain that I open the lines. Great. The Q&A session has started. So here's how we can do the Q&A. The Q&A, for those of you by webinar, you should see a Q&A feature. If you click that, it will at least pop your name into my Q&A box. and let me know that you have a question. If you are by phone, you can still get into the Q&A queue by simply pressing *6. I know that this is technology, which means there are times where you may not be able to get in your question. And here's what I'm doing right now. I am going to the chat, and I am seeing a few statements from some individuals here. So as you're getting your questions together, you can put yourself in the queue. While you're doing that, I'm going to look and see the responses that came into the chat box and see what answers I need to provide or what comments that I need to make. I see something came in from Dion Legging. Dion, I see you say here, Cassandra, I know that in order to be distinguished, you have to have at least 5 points, 5 goals, and growth of 5. Is there a minimum of educational goals? I know they are encouraged to get as many as possible. Dion, let me make certain I'm understanding your question here. With the Distinguished Club program, you are correct that you do want to have at least a net growth of 5 if your club does not have 20 members. So that is correct, a net growth of 5. And you can earn at least 5 goals. I switched the phrase points because it's not points, it's goals. Distinguished Club program has goals. So I want us to get in the habit of using the word goals as opposed to points. So you are absolutely right, Dion, that we can earn 5 goals. Any of those out of the 10, any of those 5 will help us to become distinguished. Now, with the additional part of your question where you're asking, is there a minimum of educational goals? This is where my question or my answer to that part of the question, Dion, is almost like a And I see you typed in something else. You said, I believe it was stated at a DEC meeting they wanted the officers elected by April 30th. I just want to be clear when speaking to clubs. The district may have given you as an area director, Dion, a different deadline to actually encourage your clubs to actually follow. April 30th, though, I don't know if that's going to be realistic for some clubs. You would know if April 30th works for the clubs in your area, just based on the number of times those clubs are actually meeting and when they actually start getting their nominating committee together. The educational goals that can be earned this year, because pathways, I'm pausing, Dion, because I'm getting my brain to get the language together. Pathways exist, so there are 6 goals for pathways, and then there's still the 6 educational goals for the traditional program. Toastmasters International says we can earn any of those 6 educational awards. But a club, even if the club earns 12, all 12 of those goals, they won't get credit for all 12 of those educational goals. Not for the Distinguished Club program. They will for the top 10 club, if that makes sense. In the Distinguished Club program, it specifically states that with this being a transition year, 12 educational goals exist. However, clubs are encouraged to earn 6 out of the 12, and it can be any of the 6. So it can be 5 traditional and 1 pathways. It can be all pathways. What we know is going to happen, a lot of clubs that are still with the traditional program are going to have a lot more traditional goals earned. So then a few of those pathways educational awards being earned will help. However, 6 goals for the education is what they're limiting us to. I mentioned the rest of the goals, if they're educational that are earned, it'll count towards the top 10 list for clubs. It just won't count for the DCP. So thanks, Dion. I see you said gotcha. I see you got another question here saying, but do you have to have 6 in order to get distinguished? Well, remember, at the distinguished goal level, you earn any 5 awards, you become distinguished. You earn any 7, you become select distinguished. And you earn any 9, you become president's distinguished. So 5 or 6 educational goals or 5 or 6 distinguished goals earned, because it doesn't have to be all education. Because remember, we had officers being trained both rounds. We had dues being submitted for October and dues needing to be submitted for April, plus the officers list and recruiting members. So we have 8 members to recruit. So it could be any of those combinations. But in order to be distinguished, you want to have at least 6 goals or 5 goals, a minimum of 5. 5 to 6 is distinguished. 7 to 8 is select distinguished, and 9 to 10 is president's distinguished, and it's within whatever combination your club can earn those awards or earn those goals. And I say goals because 6 of those will be the educational award. The other 4 will be membership, training, and administration. So I got you covered there, Dion. It looks like I'm scrolling back up because I thought I saw another comment. Marquita, I see that you say, if you are a Gavel Club member already, do you have to reinstate yourself? Now, you know, Marquita, I hope, first of all, I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And with the Gavel Club, being a Gavel Club member, that is a question that I do not have an answer for you on in this moment because I am not well versed on Gavel Clubs. So here's what I would encourage you to do. Whoever your Gavel Club sponsor is, I would take that question to them initially. Otherwise, going to the Toastmasters website and looking at the FAQ where they have the Gavel Club information listed, seeing if that information is there. Now, if you are a Gavel Club member already, do you have to reinstate yourself? Just from instincts, Marquita, because it sounds as if membership has lapsed, and with any membership level, even at the club level, if the membership has lapsed, then we do want to go ahead and reinstate. So based off of instincts, my answer would be yes, reinstate yourself. However, my technical answer is, because I am not well versed in the Gavel Club, I will go first to the source, whoever the club sponsor was for the Gavel Club or is for the Gavel Club, ask that question of them, or even take a look at the Q&A, the FAQ page for Gavel Club with the Toastmasters website and see if there's a stronger answer there for you. So that, again, I may not have given you the full answer there, but I wanted to make sure you knew that's one of the areas where you know that you don't know that you don't know, and I don't know the Gavel Club. So I want to send you to another resource. Thanks for asking that question. Good. All right, that was the chat area, and I thank Marquita, I thank Dion for their chat questions. Let me make certain now that I go back over to where the Q&A is. And Marquita, I think I see you here. Let me unmute your microphone just to double check if you had anything additional to ask. All right, I opened your line, Marquita, go for it. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can now. You're coming through. Technology is giving us a little delay.
Okay.
What's your question?
I just wanted to know because I was already part of the Toastmasters Club. We had a name and everything, Phoenix Rising. Phoenix Rising.
Was that here in Chicago? I think we're getting another delay there.
Lincoln, Illinois. So, and we completed the whole program. Oh, I was in Lincoln, Illinois.
Okay. That is still not my forte, so I would find out from headquarters even. That might be, yeah, I would say possibly even give them a call on that question because they would be able to look it up on file directly there, see exactly the name of the club, when it was chartered, what paperwork is there, and then give you the information for the next step.
Because I still have my paperwork and everything with my official Gavel Club member. They said I would be able to be in Toastmasters Toastmasters all over,
Okay.
but now I'm in a Toastmasters with my Cabrini Green legal aid people, activists
Okay.
who work. So
Did you do
that's
speeches
why I'm
already
in
in
it
that
again. And
club?
so that's why I'm saying I'm reinstating my.
Did you do speeches in that club?
Yes.
You did? Okay. My instincts are saying it sounds similar to a speechcraft program, a speechcraft or even a youth leadership program, where if you went through and you follow some of the curriculum, that curriculum can transfer with you to the next club that you join. So that could be what's going on for you with the Gavel Club. But like I said, again, that's not my forte. So I would give them a call, and headquarters give them a call, or even the place where you started, and find out from them what you're taking, what you're transferring with you to the next, to the Cabrini Green Club. All right, so thanks for asking the question.
So my paperwork is in process. I had a paperwork that says I'm official Gavel Club member. It got my name, my Toastmasters and everything.
Okay. All right, so what we can do, we can talk about that a little bit more offline. I see your email address out.
Or whatever, because now I'm in a new.
Yeah, so let me reach out to you individually, and then we can make the attempt to figure this out. All right? Thanks for asking the question. All right, I'm going to mute your microphone again, and I am also going to make certain I do another check in the chat. Good. If by chance you had a question, feel free to either type it in the chat box or put yourself into the Q&A queue by being able to press *6. And I'll pause for a few seconds just to give technology a chance to catch up with us. Good. Awesome. It looks as if there are no additional questions for this moment, which means I am then going to just simply go ahead and start closing us out of this information. This last segment is just simply some updates on upcoming events for you, some information that I don't want you to lose out on, or even information that I want you to go ahead and share with your club. So for instance, right now we're still in our table topics, and I'm thinking area. So my brain is running fast because I'm like, wait a second, are we still in area? Oh yeah, because area ends February 29th. So area table topics, the area international speech contests are happening. The next level will be division, yet the area contests will all end on February 29th. Club officer training also ends on February 29th. Now, if I'm not mistaken, District 103 is doing a training this Wednesday, next Wednesday, and even on February 29th. Don't quote me on all those dates. Just know that you will get something in your junk mail folder. Your junk mail folder more than likely is the place where you are seeing the District 103 Toastmasters email, and thanks, Dion, for letting me know that I'm correct. Those emails on the final club officer training dates are going to be in your inbox or in your junk mail folder. Don't miss the opportunity. And like I said, visit that Distinguished Performance Reports page. Just make sure that all your club officers who did attend training, that your club is getting credit for them attending training. March 1st through 31st will be the division level training or division level speech contest. Woo, training, contest, division level speech contest. We have division level speech contests throughout the entire month of March, so that means any of your club members who win area will move on to division contests. I would say be sure you focus in on getting your club dues in, because that could potentially cause a problem with your members competing in those division contests. So make certain that they are a member in good standing and that your club is a club in good standing by having your membership dues paid. March 7th is a special educational training day for District 103. We're opening up for all our members, all our non-members, and of course, the city of Chicago at large. We're giving members an opportunity and guests an opportunity to learn skills that they can use in other environments besides Toastmasters. We had a program in May that was the trainer event, and we're going to do, let me rephrase that. We had an event in October. We're going to do the next one in May. So the trainer event gave us an opportunity to start seeking what we call District 103 preferred trainers. And these are going to be individuals that will start training our club officers. They will be trainers at our annual conferences, and they will train at other opportunities. And this is one of the opportunities in which they will train. And they're going to do a day of real world training. So training from Toastmasters with a real-world twist. If you want to know how to use PowerPoint in a stronger way, get your emotional intelligence in order, work on goal setting, or even understand communication styles, this is an event that I want you to attend, and that is an event that has been sent with details as well, so definitely check your junk mail folder for the District 103 invite for you to attend the educational forum. We will also be inviting you and your fellow club officers and members to our District 103 open house in March. That's an opportunity for anyone who's interested in serving as an area director. You may have noticed I've been mentioning Dion, and Dion, I appreciate you letting me know about February 19th and February 26th at the AT&T building, and then on February 29th at Broadview Club. Those are the 3 dates for club officer training. I keep referring to Dion. Dion is an area director. Area directors are individuals who work closely with the district in supporting our clubs in a closer manner. So if you're interested in serving as an area director, that is a district leadership role, and it's one of the first leadership roles outside of the club level. So consider coming out to that event. There are also other leadership roles in which you can be appointed. So come out to the district open house and you'll learn more about those roles. April 1st, April 1st, April 4th, and April 24th and 25th, these are all dates related to the District 103 annual conference. Our annual conference will be the last weekend in April. We're bringing in Patricia Fripp, who is a powerhouse in teaching us how to master presentation skills. What she does in teaching us how to master our presentation skills can be used inside and outside of Toastmasters. So we want you to be a part of that annual conference, yet we also want you to be a part of the virtual banner parade and in the opportunity to get your annual conference t-shirt. April 1st is the deadline to place your order for your annual conference t-shirt. So feel free when that link comes out or when that email comes out about the conference, scroll down towards the end of that message where the link is for ordering your t-shirt. Get in on that group order. The group order is giving us all a discount. It closes on April 1st. That way, all of us who have ordered shirts can get our shirts shipped directly to us, and we'll receive those shirts sometime around April 17th. April 4th is an opportunity for you to make sure you get a photo in that shows you, your club leaders, your club members, all around your club banner showing club spirit. You're sending that in so that way we can create a video collage of all of our District 103 clubs. So we want you to be a part of the virtual banner parade, yet you have until April 4th to get that emailed photo into us. And again, the annual conference email that goes out has all the links and deadlines for the conference. Speaking of deadlines, next month there will be 2 more webinar sessions that I will host. March 3rd is on the Stepping into Leadership Part 2. We had a great panel discussion in January where we had former district leaders Pat Martin and Mike Rafferty participate. This next session is going to include Joan Moore and Michelle Cable. All of those individuals have been club leaders, They've also been district leaders, and they will share with you their journey and give you advice on serving in district leadership, and that should help you if you decide. I say if you decide to join us for March 21st, what you learn from them in this March 3rd session should give you the encouragement to join us for the March 21st Deck Open House. Now, you can register at D103leadership2.eventbrite.com, and of course, there will be an email message that will go out, and you can use that email message to register. That concludes tonight. That concludes our session. As I said, I'm Cassandra, Diva of Dialogue Lee. I am your past District Director for District 103, serving in the role of Senior Advisor this year. And it gave me pleasure to be with you tonight to teach this session on creating a quality club environment, where we focused on the club officers, and that's how we know we can have a strong team. We can use the program quality concepts to make sure our members are getting what they came to the club for. Will this be emailed to us as well for reference? Yes, Dion. The link usually comes 24 to 48 hours afterwards, so you'll have the opportunity to have the recording of this session, and you can use it as a reference for later. So thanks for asking that question. If you have any other questions, my email address is listed there. Feel free to drop me a question at crlee2003@hotmail.com. Until our next session, I want you to have a great time in your club environment. Learn what you're there to learn to become a better communicator and leader. Yet what you're learning in your club environment, take it with you outside of your club environment. Demonstrate those transferable skills inside and outside of Toastmasters. And until next time, be blessed, be safe, and I'll see you on March 3rd. Thanks, everyone, for attending this session. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.